Hi and welcome to Doll's Barefoot Farm. Today I wanted to show you what we do with these elderflowers. So you can see all these white flower heads, and this is one of our elderberry patches. We have several, and you can either wait and let these flowers turn into berries and harvest the berries. We always have an abundance of berries. I'm giving them away, selling them, drying them, and sharing. And so I learned about the beneficial uses of the flower this year, and it's an excellent source of vitamin C. You can dry it and put the flowers, steep the flowers in a tea. And so if you're feeling sick, you have a cold or the flu, and you just need an extra boost of vitamin C, this is a great thing to have on hand, these flowers. And so this year, that's what I've decided to do. I've been harvesting the flowers, and so I wanted to show you just how we go about doing it. As you can see, this is in a very overgrown brush area. There's some wild blackberries in there, so there's thorns and other things. So I usually will wear pants and some boots just to protect my legs from getting all scratched up and to try to keep the ticks and bugs off. So we'll show you how we pick these and harvest these flowers. Okay, so here I am, and you can see all these white flowers. I'm going to show you how to harvest. You can either break it off like that. So there's a stem where it attaches to the tree. It's not really a tree, it's kind of like a bush. You can snap it, or you could use scissors to cut it. And so now you can see all these pretty little flowers. And I'll go around and I'll clip a few more of these, and then we'll show you what we do with them next. Okay, so here's a few more. Like I said, you can either grab the stem here and snap it. Comes right off. I do the same thing when I harvest the berries, or you can snip it, and I would just snip it at the same spot. So I'm going to snip several of these. There's quite a few right here that are all flowered out, and they're even dropping their flowers. Get a few more. And you can see these elderberry, I don't know if you want to call it a grove or patch. Patch is probably better. They just expand every year. So once you get elderberry, it's really hard to get rid of it and kill it. And Ella, I want you to bring that over here really quick so we can show something. So this is elderberry, but this is not elderberry. That's a weed. That's Queen Anne's lace, I'm pretty sure. And so you wouldn't want to harvest that because that's not the same thing. But you can see up here it's growing. No. Sorry about that. It's growing right near the elderberries, but keep it there. They look very different. So this has a fuzzy stem. This has a smooth stem. The leaves on here are very almost like parsley-like, and here they're not. They're smooth. I think this is called pinnate leaves when they are kind of feather-like in shape, in the way that the veins run. So anyway, that's the distinction. So we'll pick a few more, find some that have most of the flowers out, and then I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, so now we have these flower heads inside, and I am going to just trim off this main stem. And I'm going to have the flower head lay face down. So on a big stem like this, or big flower head, I will trim a little further. And maybe we'll have a stem that looks like this instead of just a single stem. But anyway, I'll go through and do this with all the flower heads, and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so now all the flower heads have been trimmed off the stems, and all I will do now is turn on the fan and make sure it's blowing over here. And then periodically through the day I'll come and I'll rotate the tray. Rotate it about 90 degrees, and I'll continue to do this. And It should take, like I said, anywhere from 12 to 24 hours depending on how tightly you've packed it down. You may also want to shift some things around a little bit when you come and rotate the tray, and then that's all you do. Okay, now we have our dried flowers and they are ready to be taken off the stem. So I've got a glass jar here. This is what I store the dried flowers in, and then I have a funnel, and it just makes it easier when you're removing the flowers to make sure you don't lose any wayward flowers. So I just take the stem and I'm simply going to swizzle it kind of, or slide my fingers back and forth down the stem, and the flowers, you see, will just pop right off. They are fairly dry. I had these under a fan for probably 12 to 24 hours, and then I wasn't able to get to them right away, so they've sat for a few days, even beyond that, just continuing to dry out. And they weren't coming off as nicely when I did try it after turning off the fan, so that's why I just let them sit for a little bit longer. But they just dried here on my counter, and that's what we do. So then once we get all of the flowers off the stems, then you can store it in a cool, dark place. I usually store it in a kitchen cabinet, the dried flowers, and I use them for tea. And so how you would do that is you will take a couple teaspoons of the dried flowers. So let's see, I've got my tea strainer. Well, I don't have a teaspoon with me, but that's probably about maybe 1 teaspoon. We'll do a little bit more. And I've got my mug here, and I'll pour my hot water, which I've already had boiling, and then I will let it steep from anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. If you try that and you think it's too strong, you can always back down a little bit, but 10 minutes seemed to be a good time for me. I enjoyed the flavor at that point, and I thought it was a pretty fruity, floral, had a floral type fruity taste to it. And so I didn't add any sweetener, but you could always add honey or stevia drops if you need to sweeten it a little bit. So I'll let you see in a few minutes after this is steeped what it looks like. Okay, here we are. So this tea has been steeping for probably about 12 minutes. And I want to see if you can see all those rehydrated flowers floating around in there. And so I will pull out my tea strainer. And then you see this pretty yellow tinted tea. And so that's how you make elderflower tea. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, subscribe, give us a comment, let us know what you thought or how you use elderflowers, and we'll check you next time on Doll's Barefoot Farm.